Hello there, my friends. I want to, in this video, cover some of the other stories in Surah Al-Kahf, the 18th chapter of the Holy Qur'an. And there are three remaining stories that I haven't gone through with you. And so let's look at those three stories. The first one is an interesting analogy. It doesn't refer to an actual story in history, but it just comes up as an analogy or as an example. And but it's a case study that I think any one of us might be able to identify with, because we've all seen somebody rise and somebody fall. And so this is just a case of the rise and the fall of a person, and how we should understand wealth and power in this world. And let's quickly listen to the verses.
Present to them an analogy of two gentlemen, one of which we set up with two plantations. 2 grape vineyards were there with date palms that we let grow on the outer rim. Between the 2 vineyards we made grow a field of grain. Both plantations rendered produce, never causing him any loss, as we caused a river to run in between the 2 plantations. Being endowed with produce, he becomes boastful and tells a fellow gentleman, "I am both wealthier than you and mightier in manpower." With an air of conceit, he now enters his estate saying, "I cannot see how this will ever be depleted. No final hour is coming. Even if I am returned to my Lord, I will be sure to get even greater things than this in exchange." As he gets deeper into his self-glorying, his colleague tells him, "Are you disregarding the very being that created you from dust, then from a droplet, then formed you into a man? I maintain that God is my Lord and sustainer, and I refuse to blaspheme my Lord for the sake of anything. You should instead say, when entering your estate and feeling yourself superior to me in wealth and underlings, all this is by God's permission and all power emanates from God. After all, it can happen that my Lord could grant me something finer than your estate. Or it can happen that God could strike your estate with a calamitous torrent from the sky, bringing about a landslide. Or he could dissipate the water supply to the estate, beyond your reach. In time, all his produce was indeed enveloped and destroyed. He could only wring his hands in grief. All that he invested in his estate lay in ruins. His lament was, 'How I wish I never blasphemed my Lord and sustainer.' It turned out there never was any manpower that could rescue him beside God, nor could he rescue himself. This is the lesson. True guardianship belongs to God. Best is he at compensation, and best is he at determining outcomes."
So that's a extremely beautiful conclusion to that story. And the lesson of the story is, with power comes arrogance. And who of you have heard the saying, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so this is a story really that just brings that to mind to the reader of the holy text. And it's in a form of a dialogue between a man and his colleague. And we are just being alerted to the dangers of arrogance, and that a much more sane and healthy outlook in the world would be to always assume up front that what you have is basically on loan to you, that you relate your wealth, your power, to a greater force, a greater power, the power of the supreme creator of the universe, the ultimate, the primordial source of power. And so when we acknowledge that our power is only on loan to us, we would take a much more healthy, sane approach to that power which we hold, and we would act in a much more responsible way with that power. And I think that was an extremely important message, the first one.